Hello and welcome to the Flatback 3 podcast. My name is Toby Wellington and I am joined today by Adam Mann for another interview special. But before we get started, please don't forget to follow us on Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube channel and get engaged with all of the content. You can, of course, listen to us on Spotify as well, wherever you get your podcasts from, or watch every episode on YouTube. But as I say, today I am joined by the man, Adam Mann. Manny, how are you, mate? Okay?
Here we go then.
He's here.
Thanks for having me on. First things first, Hope. Can you give me a oh yeah?
No, I can't. Can you give me a better one than that, no?
I will give you a better one by the end of the show, but you've got to give me one of your best efforts. And then
right now. I'll tell you what, at the end, I'll tell you what, we'll finish it with an oh yeah each. That's the way we'll do it. That's the best way to round off an episode, I think. But you're joining us from Chicago, Illinois, which is the longest distance interview we've had ever on any of the podcasts that I've done. So you must be honoured to be joining us. But what is it, 9:30 over there? Nice and early?
Nice and early, 9:30. I guess this makes your podcast officially international.
This is it. We've spread overseas now. The 15 have spread across to the US with the glorious guest of Adam Mann. But obviously you're joining us from Chicago. You've lived there now, what? How long have you been living in Chicago now?
So we moved to Chicago end of January. So we have been over here for a little while, but actually finding a place obviously takes some time. So Chicago from the end of January. So yeah, looking at 5-6 weeks now.
Nice,
it's we're adapting. Obviously, my wife's so she's jumped back in, but she's actually probably more British than I am, and I'm enjoying the American side way more. I'm officially a fully fledged soccer fan now, rather than a football fan.
Right. So you have made the transition to calling it soccer by accident. That's not the worst thing for being there, but it's bad for this because this is a football podcast, unfortunately. So we're going to talk all the things about your career, obviously, in terms of the playing time in England that you had when you were at clubs in the Vanarama National League North and South, but obviously talk very quickly about your football now. You're not currently playing in America, but you do have the ambition to play. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah, it's finding my feet. Obviously, having to sort out my visa and everything like that causes a bit of a transition. But their season is just sort of kicking in to play now. They kind of have like a winter break. Gonna try. There is also an indoor pro league, so I might end up being involved in that to make it like a all year round thing. But we'll have to see. It's by all means I want to play, but it's also I'm having to be that guy over here where you message the club and say, oh, is it okay if I get a trial? But they call it a tryout. So when I said trial to the first two clubs, they thought I was a convict.
I was going to say, it comes across really well, I'm sure.
Yeah, can I come on trial? And they're thinking, is this guy all right? And when you kind of got to sell yourself or anything like that, and I thought, it won't really get me far when I say I'm a bang average 30-year-old. They think, Christ, he's past it and he's overweight. So I've got some work to do.
I don't know. Are you still hanging on to the? I can't see because you're wearing a hat. Are you still hanging on to the blonde highlights, or are they gone now?
Blonde highlights are gone, but now I've turned into it's grew. It's
long. Look at that. That's an absolute mop. That is.
It is. Do you know what? I saw Sterney and I saw he lost his hair at this age, so I thought I've got to grow it out. I've got to do a gap there. Just make sure it just keeps going.
We'll call it the reverse stern. Throw it instead of lose it. That's the best way to go.
Oh, it's got to that age.
And have you managed to get home and see much soccer or football or whatever you want to call it? Have you been to see the Fire or anything like that yet? Or is it just a case of not being able to yet?
I haven't. No, I've actually went and watched ice hockey game, the Blackhawks, which was honestly unbelievable. I wasn't expecting anything from it. I just turned up and thought, let's see what it's like. And let me tell you, they play Chelsea Dagger after every goal and fireworks are going off indoors. I'm thinking this is unbelievable. But
Americans do sport very well, to be fair.
they love the entertainment side of it, especially if you're going as a neutral. It was great. I will go see the Fire. Their season's just started. They just signed Shaqiri from.
Yeah, they have, haven't they? Yeah, from
So
Lyon.
that was a big. That shows you that the MLS has come on a long way if they're getting Shaqiri.
We actually did a podcast a few weeks ago about like the validity of the MLS and whether it's actually increased in its popularity as much as its like validity as a top league, because you know Lorenzo Insigne is going to sign there in the summer after he leaves Napoli. They've obviously got players going over there in dribs and drabs, but it's a growing league. But I think we agreed on the fact that it's still a money league at the minute more than anything. But in terms of your ambitions, what obviously you say about indoor, I'm sure that's just because you want to stay out of the wind and the rain. But in terms of, is there a level you're looking to play at necessarily, or are you just going to go as high as possible?
So to break it down, funnily enough, when I first signed at Gloucester, there was a guy who lived in Gloucester, who was an agent, and he actually was involved in the US side. And I was like 18 years old at the time. And lo and behold, like 10 years later, I messaged him saying, look, John, I'm actually heading over. You got anyone that you can speak to? So he's been speaking to people, but you've got to remember that the country's ridiculously big. So we're obviously following where my wife's got work, and I'm trying to make it work in a moment and see what happens. But over the next year, I will probably go trial it. The USL is the league below the MLS, and it is a pro league still, and it seems to be pretty good. So just to put in the context, I see the closest club to me is Indy 11, which is Indiana, and they have Nicky Law playing, who's a legend. So he's played over 300 Football League games. So if he's running the show there, it shows you that the standard is respectable. But again, to add to your side of what American leagues are, I'd call it the retirement home for good football players. Yeah.
I think that sounds like you fit in really well, mate.
I mean, I'm definitely getting to retirement age, but I wouldn't call it a good football player. They might need a good kit man.
I'll give you good, mate. I wouldn't say you're that bad yet. That's based on seeing you a couple of years ago when you were with City full time. But let's talk about your career in England very briefly. So obviously broke through at Gloucester City. It's fair to say that was your first big come through season. Is that fair to say? I ask as you take a massive mouthful of water.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's a bad time for me. That is definitely where it all began. I was actually at Forest Green before they were the money club, and I actually nearly had a sniff of getting a pro deal there when Jim Harvey was manager. And the luck I had with I'll tell you, the two scenarios of me nearly getting a pro deal both fell through. And I reckon I've come to superstition that if the manager's bold, then they're bad omen, because Jim Harvey was a bold manager, and the other guy who I'll talk about in a moment was Steve Burr. He was at Kidderminster. So when I was
just on a side note, if Sterney ever offers you the opportunity to play for him, it's a solid no.
It's a solid no, and he is also bold, and he's a bad omen for me. So he's a pain in my ass. It was a strange one. Yeah, I was 16. I banged a load of goals in the youth league there. Went up to the under 18s, 15, 16. I'd done well for this season, and the Jim, he was big on the youth, and he gave me a chance to play, and I played against Leeds in a pre-season game. That was my come on for 10 minutes. But the story behind it was he actually got sacked that day.
Good. Bad result against Leeds then, was it?
You know what? It was a great result as well. I remember coming on, I was buzzing. He said to me in training the day before, look, you're going to get a run out against Leeds. I thought, and my dad's a big Leeds fan, so it was one of them moments. I thought, this is unbelievable. I think it's all come together. He said he's going to give me basically a deal afterwards. And apparently the club, this is when Dale Vince started to come in. I think he had a massive fallout with Jim Harvey. And he left and he went to another club, and he went, not only that, he went to like a Conference North club or something like that. So it was a big bust up, and then another guy came in, and he had different ideas. He was more involved in getting league players on loan, like young lads. Yeah. And that was me. I was at Hartbury College at the time, and I kind of began my college and then signed for Gloucester City, which was Unbelievable experience, let me tell you. I mean, I signed a whopping contract for £25 a week.
Huge.
No expenses either, mine. So training twice a week and playing away on a Saturday, it was costing me money.
I bet, especially when you're in the Northern Leagues as well, as a club playing from Gloucester, it's quite a lot of travelling.
That's it. Conference North is brutal. I mean, the South's pretty good, and depending on your location, obviously, but Gloucester was the most southern North club. They shouldn't have been in it. They should have always been in the South, but the logistics meant they was in the North. And yeah, it was brutal. There was, the Newcastle away trips, Blythe, and they were actually probably the more enjoyable ones because we did have a night out in Newcastle after.
The overnight stays.
But, yeah, that was the thing. So Gloucester's money was so tight that they actually said to us, you can have a pre-match overnight on a Friday and pay for your own on a Saturday, or you can save your money and we'll pay for your Saturday night thing. And we were all like, stop doing up on the Friday. We'll go off on a Saturday, get a free night, and make the most of it. But it was, obviously I'm from Gloucester too, so I was a homeboy club, and I was just excited to play men's football and be part of it. We were playing at Warden Road, Cheltenham at the time because the ground obviously flooded. So it was a great time. I was learning a lot. I'll tell you a funny story that my manager, Boris, he won't mind me saying about this because people don't like talking about money, but it's that ridiculous. It's funny now. I obviously on £25 a week. It's like January. We're always fighting relegation, but we always manage to stay up. He pulled me on a Thursday night and he's like, Manny, I can't believe I've got to do this, but one of our strikers is on contract and we're having a budget cut and he's refusing to take a cut. So everyone else is going to have to take a cut. And I was like, right. He goes, I'm going to have to take £10 a week off you.
Oh,
so
wow.
I went down to £15 a week.
Playing the Conference North as well, which is a decent standard.
To play. So if anyone can ever say I play for money and not love at this moment, it was...
Absolutely, mate. I mean, like you said, the travel as well, and I'm very much of the opinion with you that Gloucester City should never really be playing in the North because logistically it makes no sense. But they're in there again this season and struggling again. They're not a club that have really they've never really taken that step towards a promotion, although this season it did look okay with a bit of money and they'd gone full time last year, I think. But yeah, I mean, how long were you at Gloucester City then in the end?
So it was about, my tenure was probably about 6 years. I remember I did leave. Well, I did go out on loan twice and come back. So it was very much a love. Me and Boris, the Dave Mayhew, the gaffer there, he was great. And I remember when I was 18 and he was very strict and, it was, I don't know, he was bossy, I guess is the best way of saying. He very OCD, he liked his things, but he always said to me, like, this will do you good stead in the long run. And now I'm 30 years old, he's not wrong. Like, I learned a lot. I played left back, left wing, I played all over.
Christ. And then you ended up front / on the wing for Bath in the years I knew you. Was it ever a case that were you always a striker, or did you move from midfield into playing up front, or how did that sort of happen?
I was always a striker, and I was a striker at Forest Green, and then at Gloucester he turned me into a left winger. And then kind of like a left back. One of the lads broke his leg and I went left back, probably purely because we didn't have many left footers and I was young and I could get up and down the pitch. So it was kind of forced in some situations. But then Hartbury also turned me into a left back too, because we had basically everyone that goes to Hartbury is either a centre mid or a striker. So you had a left foot, which makes you appealing character. And don't get me wrong, the ilk of players I had at Hartbury College when I was playing. So to put into context, the striker now plays. He played in the World Cup of 2016. He was a Ghanaian lad. The left winger was another Ghanaian we had over called TT. He actually plays in the MLS now. The keeper was. He went back home and played pro in Ghana. The centre mids both went on and had careers in the pro game. So our team was just full of unbelievable quality. So I just had to find a space, really. So left back was me.
You were literally the joke of left back in the changing room sort of thing. You were just shoved into the left back position, or it was changing rooms.
It was by default. So I had a left foot, and I was happy to run up and down and basically pass the ball to the good players. It was great.
Yeah.
So I had a blast. It was a great time to. That time of football, I was playing a lot. Obviously, men's football there. I was playing a Tuesday night. I'd be like Boston away, and then Wednesday would be the college game. So I was playing upwards of probably 80 to 90 games a season. I don't know how I've done it now, but it was great for development, I guess, and I definitely was enjoying it. I done that. I did go, obviously I traveled to America because of my degree and coached over there for a summer. It was the first real time I explored, I'd say. And I come back obviously a little bit overweight because America's the land of indulgence. Boris said to me, he's like, I can't play you. And we and him have been, as it was time for us to have a little break from each other. So I went to a team called Shortwood. And I went to Shortwood, and Alex Sykes was there, who I think Cinderford manager now, and top man, and he took me in his wing. And mate, that was when we got the FA Cup run, and we played Port Vale at home in the first round.
Wow, that's amazing. And in that season, how did you get on in the league as well? Was that just sort of a cup run season, or did you have a decent league season as well?
It was a touch of Hartbury class. There was a lad called Jake Parrott and James Baldwin, and James Baldwin actually got a move from Shortwood to a Swedish club, which is like
interesting transfer.
Yeah, from the Southern League One to Swedish Prem. So it was a great season. They actually went on a run. I think they did. They got to the playoffs and they didn't win, but I left. I was only there 3 months. I literally had the FA Cup run. We went on an unbelievable run. We had to win like 10 games. The better night was Aldershot away. We scored in the 93rd minute, which funnily enough, the striker was an Aldershot fan, and he scored in the 93rd minute. He was actually from our reserves, and come on, scored last minute at home. So we had to go Aldershot away on a Tuesday night, and honestly, it was just a wild night because we were 4 leagues below them, thinking, we got not much chance. Kieran Gibbs, the Arsenal left back, his brother or cousin was playing, and also Ashley Young's brother or something was playing.
Oh, yeah, Lewis Young.
Yeah, so they had
Lewis Young's winger, yeah.
Big young lads, which, when you're a bit starstruck, you think, oh wow, because I remember I think they said Ashley Young was in the stands, and you just kind of think, oh, this is great, a great experience. And lo and behold, we went 1-0 down early doors, and I remember coming in at half time, and I wouldn't say I necessarily was playing bad, but they were looking for me and the other lad, the Duncan Cully at the time, to kind of do something. And arguably we weren't getting much of the ball. But I remember my manager come in, it was John Evans, it was him and Alex Sykes. And he tore me a new one. I'm not going to lie. He was like, you want to be a big game player and all this? And he's like, you look like you shit yourself. I don't know if it's trying to do this. Sorry about that.
It's fine, mate. Don't worry.
Yeah, you can bleep it out. And he was like, I need something from you. And I was like, okay, mate. And the chairman come in, right? And I'm not joking you. He couldn't have been more arsed if we tried. He come in, he was like, lads, he's on his phone, Googling, on eBay, golf sets, because he's going to Dubai, right?
Nice.
And he's come in.
Always good.
Bear in mind, this is a massive game. He's like, lads, look, you come back and win this game, I'll take you to Vegas. So we're all looking around going, oh my God, he's chucked Vegas out there. So
that's all you needed.
That was all we needed, because I remember we got a penalty about 10 minutes into the second half. The lad scored a dunker, and mate, I'm gutted because there's definitely footage of this somewhere, but Aldershot never released it because of its embarrassment. But mate, I've got given the ball from about 30 yards out, took a couple of touches, and I thought I'm going to whack it. Mate, and all I remember is it hitting the side netting, going in, and I'm running to our 100 Shortwood fans thinking, we're 2-1 up with 30 minutes to play. And it was unbelievable moment. We literally parked the bus. We got the driver to park the bus for 30 minutes. They had something like 25 corners, and they just could not score. And we've come away, and to be fair, the Aldershot fans clapped us off, and it was unbelievable. We come into the change rooms like, hey, we're going to Vegas. And
Did you
the
go?
chairman's looking at us like, oh no, shit, I've just told him I've got about 30 grand to spend here. But in fairness, he didn't take us to Vegas, but he paid for our tour. We went to Tenerife, all inclusive, paid for. So in fairness, you know, he did drop some money, but I was still go because Vegas would have been.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's that classic adage of, like, when you get the ball 30 yards out, you see your name in lights. But in fact, you saw the lights of Las Vegas's strip instead of your name, which is the irony of it all, because you didn't go.
Honestly, ever since then I've had PTSD. I'm like, right, every time we're 1-0 down at half time, I'm like, right, if I'm going to Vegas, if I score it, and then I'll always bring it back. It's great.
So then obviously went from Shortwood back to Gloucester, and then the move was, we obviously talked about it before we muted myself there, sorry. So it was from Gloucester you moved to Bath City, but that was via Swindon Supermarine. Is that, but I'll let you sort of tell the story as to how that summer unfolded for you.
Oh, yeah, so just before then, I did spend 3.5-4 seasons at Evesham. So I went back to Gloucester, and it was a new manager called Tim Harris, and again, great top bloke. He Gloucester through and through. He brought me back because again it was relegation scrap, and we stayed up. We come back, stayed up. It was, not saying I was the saviour, but I definitely helped.
Came back and saved him. It's fine.
Yeah, it was. He come back, and then just with Tim, he's very much, you know, I don't want to say a conveyor belt of players, but you know, if you're out of form, then you will be out of the team for a bit. And I went on loan to Evesham, which is, I will say, one of my all-time favourite managers. He's a good friend of mine, Paul Collicutt. He's if you ever got the experience to work with him, then you'll know what I mean, because he loves football. I mean, it's probably cost him 2 marriages, but it's like his baby. And this was again back down to the Southern League, I would say Evesham was, but we were like the Chelsea of the Southern League because their budget was great, and he's a butcher. So when you get man of the match, you get 20 steaks.
Oh, well, that'll see you over for a while, because if you're on 15 quid a game, steaks don't come cheap.
That's it. Honestly, you made more money getting man of the match than you did in thing. But Evesham was it was a great time. We got 3 out of the 4 playoffs. The one we missed by a point, so we nearly made 4 playoffs. So you'll soon find out I'm the playoff king, because I made 2 at Bath. I made 3 out of the 4 seasons at Evesham, and then Gloucester was always a relegation scrap because of the money side of things. But never promoted though, so that's why I'm the playoff king. But absolute shambles anytime.
So what happened in each promotion campaign with Evesham then? You sort of got to the final and then it just fell apart, or you came up against someone better than you? How did it sort of unfold?
I would honestly say falling apart is definitely the first one, I would say so. And do you know, I never made in the playoffs. It works with like a semi-final and final always. I've never made the final. We've always lost first leg, which is an embarrassment, really. But
so the saviour of Gloucester City, but the punisher of Evesham, almost, or the playoff punisher, or whatever.
Toby, I can get you to a playoff, no problem. I'll carry all season, but don't play me in the playoff, because
what we want to do with clubs in America, when you're advertising yourself and you recommend they listen to this to sort of put across yourself as PR, is say that you want to give Adam Mann a deal until 3 weeks before the playoff final, and then he'll get you to the playoffs, and then just sack him off so that he's not part of the squad, get promoted, and then get him back on a bigger contract.
That pretty much, yeah. I can tell you, I can be consistent until the end of the season, but as long as they keep me as the DJ, and I can just be the all-round top bloke. I just could be the banter bus for a bit, because it's fun. I will say in the playoffs, so Evesham, we went 30 games unbeaten or something like that. It was crazy to get in there, and so we were like the top one. So we were playing a home leg, and we played a team called Larkhall, which is obviously a Bath. And they snuck in last game of the season. And let me tell you, we was very, I don't want to say we're arrogant. I had this worrying feeling that it was never, this always happens in playoffs. The team that sneaks in always does well. Well, we were 3-0 down at half time.
Oof. At
home, 3-0 down. And I'm not joking you. We were just shell shocked, really. I think we had a couple of lads that I'll be honest, weren't ready for it. They just looked nervous, wouldn't give away a pen. It was just things that basic things that happen in big moments. The second one, we played Salisbury away.
Oh,
and
tough.
To be fair, the goal I scored in that's on Instagram. We had a player sent off after 30 minutes.
Always good.
Oh, it's unbelievable. It's just what you need on a thing. And in fairness, they have a white kit, and he's nailed this guy. And he's like, ref, I haven't touched him. And you look at his leg, and he's bleeding like down his sock. Like, it was one of them where like, Ash, you're going to go, mate. You
can't cover it up very well.
But it actually gave us this resilience, and we went 1-0 down. And then I've scored in the 85th minute, and we were unbelievable. And we even got to the 120th minute of extra time. And they've got a penalty in the 120th minute. And the lad scored it. He went straight in the middle. I was gutted. I've actually got a great picture of that. There's me facing away from goal, not looking because I was that gutted. And the guy, that lad actually scored, he now plays for Sutton, I think.
Oh, right, because Salisbury went through that liquidation period where they started down in the lower leagues again and worked their way back up. That would have been a horrible time to play them.
It was,
because they were back on the rise. Because Steve Claridge was their manager back then as well. I think he's still there.
He was. Do you know what? So you've reminded me that day that we met. I'm not gonna lie. I don't. He's an idiot.
He's a horrible bloke. I've actually worked one game against Salisbury when I was working in the low leagues. We played him in the FA Vars, and he was an awful man. Like, he was terrible. You'd think he was managing Man City the way he goes on.
Yeah, you're right. And it's you almost want to tell him, like, look, come on, Steve. I know you're a legend of the game or whatever, but let's just have 5 minutes. This is the Southern League we're talking about. Exactly. This guy's not got VAR, and he definitely doesn't give a crap what he's saying. But he actually runs a 12-minute jog around the pitch before games.
Right. Okay. Well, yeah. That's still no reason to be a rude man. Let's call it that, because I don't want to bleep too much out.
No, you're right. He doesn't. He doesn't need to be the way he is. But I just find it so strange that before a game he was running like a 12-minute run, but we are around the pitch. I was like thinking, and if you saw our manager, Paul Connolly, he's about 20 stone. So I just laughed myself. I love to keep it.
Well, there's a lot of people have weird like pre-match rituals, don't they? I mean, I remember when I played a few games. Well, not me playing, but when I worked a few games away at Yeovil, the physios that were there for a while used to go for like a 10K before a game, which is crazy because I'd be way too knackered to be able to function as a working member of staff or a player if I did anything in the morning. But yeah, sorry. So from Evesham, so let's talk about this transition that you made from Evesham to Swindon Supermarine to Bath City in one summer.
Yeah, you've timed that well, because the final Evesham playoffs was against Swindon Supermarine.
Right.
So the
they
tales
coached you afterwards.
Yeah, the tales of my highs and lows. I mean, this sounds like corruption if ever, what I'm about to say, but it wasn't. It went to penalty shootout, and I was the only one that missed. So I was the one that knocked Evesham out of the playoffs, and it's probably one of my lowest moments of my career. Like the whole way it was, I went through a big transition of getting fit. I went from 15 stone to about 12 and a half. I actually got lean. I scored probably about 20 goals in that January to April period to, get us there. And I missed the penalty. Everyone was like, "Oh man, he's obviously going to score." It was one of them moments, and I've dragged it, hit the post, and
oh no, it's even worse it's worse when you don't at least hit the target.
I can tell you. And when there's a half a big crowd there, you're just like, wow, you want the ground to swallow you up a little bit. I was like, this is the highs and lows of football right there. And I remember being gutted, absolutely gutted for about a month, and then the season's over and I was fit now, and I obviously had a good season, so clubs are calling, and Swindon was one of them. And it was obviously, they then got promoted in the playoffs, so they was the league above. And I spoke to a colleague, which on my manager then, and I said, look, I was gutted. I wish it was us that went up, because I would have stayed, but I want to go challenge myself again back at levels I should be playing at. And he wasn't happy about that, obviously. It was it didn't go down too well, but I signed there, and Yeah, it was a crazy 2 weeks. I went on tour to Ibiza with the Evesham boys, a bit of a send off. Signed with Supermarine, and then funnily enough, Collie is good friends with Jerry Gill, so that's how it came about. So Jerry rang Collie asking if he knew any strikers that he thought was any good, and Collie kind of thought, right, I can spite Supermarine here, so he recommended me to Bath, and then Jerry Gill messaged me, and then I met him briefly for one conversation, and once I knew Bath was calling, I was never saying no. And like I mentioned to you earlier, I took a pay cut actually to go to Supermarine, which was the funny thing. I went up obviously 2 levels, and people were like, "Oh, he's doing it for the money," but actually, I took a cut from Supermarine to go to Bath. So it was the best decision I ever made in my footballing terms, because obviously I met yourself, and you knew what the crack was like there for 2 years. It was the first year was unbelievable, and but 2 years to 2 playoffs, and gutted we didn't make it what it was, but unbelievable experiences.
Yeah, like a fantastic club, Bath City, fantastic experience. I had the pleasure of working with you at Bath City, and it was only, I didn't come into that first season when you made the first playoffs. I came in during the second. But in that first season, you obviously played Wealdstone in the semi-finals of the playoffs, didn't you? And that's when Brunty had that unfortunate incident with the goalkeeper and got sent off. Do you want to talk us through your experience of that? Because I don't want to touch on it necessarily without being there.
Yeah, there's a like a live murder on the pitch.
It's only, I think only half of his face came off, didn't it?
Yeah, and do you know what the best thing is? It probably got me a job with Brunty, because I was the only one defending him. There was uproar, because obviously, in fairness, he's never meant to hurt the keeper. He's gone for the ball, and to be fair to the keeper, he's gone head first at the ball, and that's like unbelievable bravery. But when you got a size 34 foot coming at you, I'm moving out of the way. He's caught him, and it all happened so fast. But I just remember uproar, and we were in the goal mouth, and someone's pushing Brunty, I'm pushing him back, like he hasn't touched him, and I look down, and I see the keeper looks like Harry Potter. Like, he's got this massive gash in his forehead. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, Brunty, you've done it big time.
Absolutely poleaxed him.
He's poleaxed him, and I'm still defending him like, it don't matter, he didn't mean it. He didn't mean he didn't touch him too. He didn't mean it. And he's obviously got a straight red. And I'm kind of trying to calm people down after that. But I mean, Brunty's a big guy, he can look after himself, but there was about 20 people on him. I'm pretty sure our own team was on him at that time. It was, mate, honestly, it was crazy.
Brunty is a unit of a man as well. I can't imagine with him travelling at the speed the goalkeeper's forehead stood much chance, to be honest.
Oh, he actually looks even bigger on the pitch, which is frightening, because we put our kits on and normally they're a bit oversized and we all look like boys. And but Brunty seems to come on, he looks like 4. I don't know how he's managed to do that. so big, but hell of a player, because when he signed in the summer, I remember when I signed, they said they're looking to try get one more striker in. There was me, John Mills, who was their marquee signing, who I'd played with against a lot of times at Hereford. And then he said, oh, Ryan Brunt's signed, he's XX Bristol Rovers, didn't know anything about him, but just obviously he's got some pedigree. Did I think I'd end up working for him, living with him, plumping his pillows for him? Absolutely not. It was a bromance that met from the first day of pre-season, when he turned up in his SVR Range Rover with Brunty on the back, so I knew it was him. And there's me and my little Honda Accord. I might have even been in my work van, parked next to him. And you just hit it off, because
it was a match made in heaven, because I know exactly what you two were like in that second season and what you've always been like together. You are horrendous together, because you just wind each other up to a point that there's no turning your back on you and Brunty, because something will go missing or something will happen. But it is a match made in heaven. Are you guys still in touch now, I take it, obviously?
Yeah, of course. It was. In fact, I'm actually going to be helping Brunty do some work for him whilst he's got some stuff transitioning with his business, and I obviously can do a lot here at the moment, so I can help him online with some things. So yeah, we've been in contact. Obviously, he came out to Dubai when I first when we were still working, and I said to him, "Look, I'm staying out here with my girlfriend at the time," and yeah, and obviously I didn't think I wouldn't be back for another 8 months, but it was a crazy time. But yeah, we're still in good contact. You know, we're still chatting. I was just sending him a couple of pictures actually, because it was Cheltenham race week, and a couple of years ago, prior to COVID, we was there. So it was some good memories for sure.
Absolutely. And you struck up a really good partnership on the pitch. I think that it's fair to say that, and this is not a criticism in any way, but I don't suppose that either of you really scored like a lot of goals for Bath when I was there necessarily. I think you both got towards 10 for the season. But it was the partnership that you had that sort of set up other players and lended them to score goals. Obviously, Tom Smith benefited massively from you guys playing up front and taking a lot of the attention of defenders. Did you feel like you had a really good connection on the pitch as well as off the pitch?
Yeah, I think that's what sparked up. A big thing, which I've heard a lot of the ex-pros say, coming into non-league, is you all get on as people and friends, whereas in the pro game, I think players in your position, you become rivals. Whereas we really, if you know, don't get me wrong, we all wanted to play, but there was times where we were in and out of squad, and we were happy for each other. Everyone was happy for everyone, and it really helped. And you're right, me and Brunty as a team, I think the first season I think it was 8 or 9 in the end. I did get injured in the end, like the end part of the season, which was a shame, but I racked up something like 18 assists or something. So his was, you know, like he scored 12 goals and a few assists. Mine was less goals but more assists. And Sterney obviously always racks up a few. And the year Tom Smith, I mean, everything he touched went to gold that year. And I think we definitely played a part, because obviously as it is now, it feels like now we're gone. I think it shows that we obviously did play a part.
But I think it was sorry, not to interrupt there, just because I was there and was watching it from the sideline. It was, and you know, not going to criticise anyone specifically or the club in any way, but I think that squad that was there that season, we lost to Dorking in the playoff semi-final during obviously the pandemic, and we had a great squad. Obviously, also had Andy Watkins in the team and Frank Artus, Dan Ball, Jack Batten, like all lads who would put their life on the line for the shirt. It got split up a bit quickly the next season. Unfortunately, Bath now struggling a little bit. But you and Brunty, I just remember, like, caused so many problems, especially because you used to drift out wide a lot more, and you would, you know, spin inside on that left foot and curl a beauty of a cross in for Brunty's head normally. And, you know, let's say 80% of the time he'd put it wide or over, but with the 20% he'd put it in.
That's it, yeah. We'd get Rainsy to overlap us, then he'd kick the ball out of play, and it was that ourselves. So it was, yeah.
The famous Joe Rains scoop that just went straight into the grandstands of every game we played at.
The Twerton train station swoop, because it would land somewhere near the train station when he's finished with it. That was for sure. I'm pretty sure he crosses. I'm pretty sure. I don't know if this is just going to start a rumor, but I'm pretty sure he's got a fake big toe, because if it catches that big toe, it goes like 400 mile an hour upwards.
I've got so many great memories of Bath City, and one of them is you. We were sat on a bench, and I can't remember who we were playing, but Joe Rains was playing right back, and someone's, I think it might have been Bawley, sprayed a ball out to him, switch of play, and he's brought it down against someone and like nutmegged them. And everyone's like, "Oh, what a touch, that's amazing." And you didn't say anything until it all went quiet. You went, "He'll spoon this out for a throw-in." And he tried to cross it, went straight out for a goal kick. And we were like, "Oh, yeah, good shot." The fake big toe of him. But another great lad. And obviously like another player from that season who flourished really in the way that the squad was built. But like you said, things sort of ended in a disappointing way, losing in the playoffs to Dorking. You then made the move to Chippenham, which was a short but sweet time, I guess, down the road from Bath. What was it that, you know, obviously you moved to Chippenham in the first place. What was it that made you go to Chippenham? And were there other clubs sniffing, or was it Chippenham mainly?
So, to put a highlight of what happened for me in Brunty, the playoffs happened, and I knew I wasn't going back. I wasn't enjoying myself, and I had newer leases of life in other avenues, So, and obviously working with Brunty was full on. So he also, I mean, to not talk about Brian too much, but his knees, he's got knees of a 40-year-old, so he shouldn't even be playing. He has some magic juice go into his knees in London, and he manages to.
They're like wet paper knees, aren't they?
Yeah, he puts, honestly, whatever they have, this magic potion they put in his knees when we went to London one day. He goes, this basically oils me up for 12 months, and whatever it is, it keeps him going because it's unbelievable how many injuries he's had on his knees, and he can walk. But it was, I knew I wasn't coming back, and I was going to stop. I just, like I said, the whole love of it completely went for me. It become a dread, which was a shame because Bath's such a great club. But there was issues which I needed to walk away from, and we and I just needed that new. I don't know if it's just issues. It was just I needed that new lease of life.
Just needed a change of scenery sometimes, isn't it? It's one of those things that you just have to change the environment that you're in.
Yeah, and I didn't actually think football was the answer for me. I thought there's other ways of enjoying ourselves in life, and COVID had just begun. So me and we in Brunty as workers as well. Like we were working 24 hours a day, and then we realised take a step back, I think. So there was all that, but then we wasn't going to play. So the season starts again. I think it started a little bit later than it normally would because of COVID. But then about 2 weeks into the season, I know the assistant there, and to be fair to Cookie, the manager, he tried to get me at Gloucester, and when I was at Bath, and then he mentioned when he went to Chippenham, but I said, look, I'm not interested. I just, you've got my number if ever you need us. Well, they went to Hungerford on a Tuesday night, early doors, and they lost 3-0. And Hosky texted me an SOS message saying, we need you and Brunty to play ASAP. And I actually had the phone call, and I'll be honest with you, I turned around straight away and said, no, I'm quite happy not playing. And Brunty, of all people, turned around and went, I fancy this.
and you two being conjoined at the hip, you didn't have a choice, did you?
Mate, we could be the first non-league package deal. I've never seen anything like it. We got the same money, the same deal. Brunty negotiated, he was the agent.
Hey, that must be amazing. Massive wage hike for you if you're on the same as Brunty.
Oh, man, I was like, well, yeah, we'll go for a package deal. It was like these negotiations. I was like, well, what do? It was one of them. It was like, with the terms we can only train once a week. Like, can you fit it around our schedule? And we'll give you everything we've got, because we're 29 and he's obviously a bit younger, but we've been around. We look after ourselves. It's the Saturday game. You're not going to learn a lot on a Tuesday night training. You can train Thursday, do the pre-game stuff, and then get into it. And it saves us with our legs with the traveling from Exeter and stuff. So Cookie, in fairness to them, they were like, yep, just come show your face. We need you. And fair play to them. It was such a new lease of life. Of they respected us, they allowed us to have our space, but we remained professional. And we went and scored goals, and we had a good run actually. I think Brunty did get injured after 3 weeks, but we did like a month spell. We said to him, we'll do a month with you and then we'll reassess. Well, we extended that another month, and then obviously COVID did start getting bad again, and then it all started to change.
Because you scored a few goals while you were there, including, is it, like, correct me where I go wrong here, but was it in the Vase or the Trophy that you scored a winner away at Ebbsfleet?
Yeah, first game. Second game, in fact. We played Braintree on the Saturday, then we had Ebbsfleet away on a Tuesday. Me and Brian looked at each other like, oh, fantastic. We come back at the wrong time. Mate, yes. Bit of a defensive error, and I've run through on goal 1-on-1. I just couldn't believe my own luck. I think I've actually shanked it, but it went through his legs. And
the classic Manny finish.
Yeah, and I just remember laughing to myself, thinking everyone's had this pre-season or this pro, act like a professional. Me and Brunty have had a jolly up for 3 months, and I managed to score against them straight away. it made me laugh. And
well, yeah, you two spent the summer doing TikTok videos with each other of Jeremy Kyle and stuff like that in your living room, which I'll never forget being sent randomly one day.
yeah.
And then yeah, you show up and you score the winner at Ebbsfleet. And how many games did you end up playing for Chippenham then? Because obviously, like you said, you extended it for a month. You scored a few goals. I remember I always kept an eye on how you and Bronte and Sterney as well, who was there, and Will Henry moved as well from Bath to Chippenham. Yeah, how long did you end up staying there before you ended up leaving?
So that season, yeah, you're right. Sterney went in the summer, and then obviously when he was texting us non-stop to say come over and trying to talk us into it, and then we had the SOS message, and we thought we've got to go save Sterney here. He needs a pal. But in fairness, the club they had there was great anyway. I think they just needed a bit of experience with some of the younger lads. And you're right, that was when I first met Will. He was at Bath when I had left by then. Played against him a couple of times, I believe. But he was actually my car school for Chippenham.
I want to just quickly jump in because you say you think or you believe you played against him. It's actually one of these things where it's funny. He comes up in conversation. He was obviously our last interview subject, and we talked about a lot of topics. And the last time I saw you score a goal, and probably the last time I saw you in person, was against Will Henry. And it was the last game before the first lockdown. It was Hungerford away. I don't know if you remember this. We won 1-0. You scored a classic Manny goal where you went through, took 3 bad touches in a row, I think, and then managed to like toe poke it between the keeper's legs. And that was Will Henry on loan at Hungerford. So there you go.
Wow, I'll have to remind you of that when I get back. I forgot he was at Hungerford.
There you go. That's one of those pieces of information that I for some reason retained.
It was, you know what? I remember it was an awful pitch. It was even worse touch. And I remember I've scored, and their defender has lost his head and just swung in the air, and he's actually kicked me. And I went flying after that goal, and I was already annoyed anyway because of that. It was just annoying football. I was getting shouted at left, right, and centre. And I honestly, I remember that game thinking, yeah, I've scored here and I've not enjoyed it one bit. So
it was a horrible day because I will never forget it because it was, I can't think how long, it must have been like 3-4 days before we went into the first lockdown, and we were being shoved into a changing room that was big enough for about 10 people. Open showers, the toilet didn't have a door on it. Like, I always remember that game specifically because Frankie Artis, who absolute legend in himself, did his interview in his pants because there was no room for him to get changed in the changing room. So, and then 3 days later, we were being told to social distance from everyone. So, you know, it was a crazy time to be involved in football. But then, yeah, and then lockdowns and whatnot. But such is life. I mean, then let's just really quickly talk about things post football or to now. So you met your current wife was it in Dubai that you met her, or did you meet her and then travel to Dubai?
No, I actually, amongst all the COVID regulation restrictions or whatever, I actually did meet her very briefly in London. Yes, so she was there. That was when we first met, and then secondly was in Dubai. But the way it all panned out was I was actually going out there to see my friend who lives there. He's a teacher over there. Right. And me and Bronte had plans. He was coming out a week later because I actually went there for Christmas Day. I was going over. Yeah, I was going to do the whole Christmas and New Year's with him. And Bronte was coming out a week later, and we was going to have a couple of weeks all together and then come back. And well, obviously when I met Amanda, she was going out there and she had a couple of friends that was out in Dubai. Everyone was going to Dubai because it was like that no COVID place at the time. And
you could escape to Dubai for a gap of about 3 weeks, and you all ran there as quick as you could.
It literally was that. In fairness, I will say though, my only defense in that was I booked going to Dubai probably in like October. So
it's not a criticism from me, mate. The government let you go. It
was one of them moments where we didn't have a summer and all this. So I kind of took the plunge because I had someone there I was going to go live with for the 3 weeks. And well, lo and behold, it come back and bit me in the ass because I flew out there and they randomly spot tested me in the airport, and a day later it said I was positive. So
Excellent.
I had 2 weeks of having to isolate in Dubai. And I actually stayed with Amanda because she's a qualified nurse and stuff. She said, like, instead of getting my friend infected or whatever, come with me. I've already had COVID. So that was the conversation. And
what a conversation starter that is.
Yeah, I've got COVID. Can I come stay with you?
That's a romance written in the movies, that is, mate.
Yeah, she's willing to risk her life for me with COVID. It was one. It was, yeah. And we obviously I stayed. Well, actually, the funny thing is, we went to leave, and I needed to get a negative test to leave, and because obviously COVID was still so new with testing, that I actually, if you test any time after you've been positive for 3 or 4 weeks, it still comes back positive. So after 3 weeks, it come back positive again, and they tried telling me to re-isolate, and I was like, I've just been in for 2 weeks. Well, anyway, I'd done another test a week later, and luckily it come back negative. But we ended up going to the States, and everything was shut down in the UK. So I said to Brunty, I kind of took myself off the payroll because there wasn't a lot going on, and went on my travels and ended up.
The rest is history, as they say.
Yeah, from getting married to being in France to coming back and playing with Chippenham again. Yeah, it's been a crazy year. Yeah.
And now, obviously, happily married and settled in, or sort of settled in Chicago for the last 6 weeks. And what's on the table now for Adam Mann then? What's the plan other than football? Obviously, you've talked to me about other ventures that you might be interested in regarding like podcasting and stuff, but is there anything else that you're planning on doing? Are you still doing modeling and things like that?
Yeah, so on the modeling side, it's funny how I can claim I'm a model. It's unbelievable. It's
best looking man in football, mate. It goes David Beckham, Adam Mann, and then the rest.
Do you know what? It's the funny thing is, I do get a laugh. So Huel have been using my picture for the last year or so. I get the sponsored ads come through, but the comments absolutely kill me. I get a lot of, they couldn't afford David Beckham, and they call me Bavid Deckham. that always gets me amongst the heels of the abuse, which is great. But there is an agent that is going to do something over here in Chicago and LA. So hopefully we get some work and see how that goes. It's a bit of a side venture. I don't know what will happen. I'd like to. We'll see what happens. Being a British guy over here, you never know. You might end up with some TV stuff if they want to hear us talk. You get that quite a lot.
I don't know if they need any farmers though, do they, mate?
Do you know what? Honestly, it's they don't. The funny thing is they don't understand the sarcasm thing. So when you say things, they genuinely believe you, and I'm just messing around all the time, you know. And
because I think you being there the way that you are, you could write a sitcom about you, Brunty, and Sterney sitting in a room. Like that would be something I would watch. The three of you sat in a room talking would be enough to hook me. And if you add Frankie Artis into that as well, then take a subscription fee from me, mate, because that's all I need.
That's it. I'm gonna have to get the boys on the podcast. It's definitely something I've been thinking of doing, and I think it's not just something to give me a little bit of a purpose whilst I'm kind of hanging around here at the moment, but I think the world's a very serious place, and I feel like the light-hearted nature of things could be introduced in certain ways, and if people want to listen to it, so that's it. You know, you've got your fat back free, and people listen, and it's again, if you listen to anyone that's created something successful, it has to start somewhere. So
exactly, yeah.
You know, it's and if you've got to enjoy what you're doing. I think I'm going to enjoy waffling to myself on my microphone, which I can't figure out how to work at the moment. So
yeah, I think I'll end up being roped in to help you set up a podcast that'll end up being better than ours, which is which doesn't sound like a fair deal. But with regards to go back to football really briefly, in terms of when you were coming through, you had your career's been based in and around the lower leagues, which is something that I think is great because it shows you can have a great experience and a great career in the lower leagues. But who's your personal idol in football growing up? Was there one specific player that made you want to play, or someone you modeled your game after, or was it just a love for the sport?
That's a good question. There's definitely a love for the sport overall, which I love it. So hopefully I can get involved in football over here in some way. Chicago is actually like the main base for like the equivalent of the FA. So if there's some sort of role I can get into there, that would be great. And I'm hopeful for something like that, because anyone who's actually a legit soccer enthusiast and fan and actually knows what they're talking about. I still need to improve their lingo though. They keep calling it half court and upper 90, and I just laughed to myself. I trained with that one club, Chicago Mustangs, and he was on about like a set piece drill, and he was like, right, you go half court, you get up over here. And I was laughing. He looked at me and I was just like smiling to myself, thinking this is so surreal that you're talking at, well, I think our football is like a UK religion. So when you're talking about like religion like this, I'm thinking it's almost like they're taking the mick.
Yeah. Mate, honestly, to be fair, I've seen you get confused in training sessions in the UK, so I can't imagine what foreign, well, I say foreign, obviously it's not necessarily foreign, but a different lingo, like you said, it must throw you for six.
Oh, it really does. It's just, it don't take much for me to get confused. And even if I've watched it with my own eyes, I still manage to get things wrong. I'm so like airhead with it. But I will, going away from your question, that the idol for me, I definitely say I watched the most was Ronaldinho. I loved his love for the game, and his skill was unbelievable. So he made you go out in the back garden and practice what he done.
Yeah.
That's his charm, was that he made it look fun, and he was just so good. And obviously Beckham was an idol. He's obviously got a club here, Inter Miami now, which they ain't doing too great, but he's created something, and he's a lovable guy, isn't he? So everyone loves Beckham. I think everyone has a slight man crush on David Beckham too.
Oh, 100%. I don't think it's possible to not. But then that plays in your favour, being David Beckham, that, people can't get Beckham. They'll take you instead.
I sit on the non-league, like, knockoff version of him. It's great. It's just chuck a few tattoos on you. And honestly, that and a British accent, apparently in the US, they're like, hey, he thinks he's Beckham.
Is that your American accent? Because if it were, that's very offensive and poor.
Depends which part of the country you are. It's brilliant.
I don't think that accent was any part of America, Manny, to be honest.
Oh no.
Maybe Mexico, but I don't think you're in America with that. Just on tattoos, you mentioned tattoos, and I think me and you are both two people that have got a great appreciation for the art of tattooing, and you're absolutely covered in them, to be fair, from in certain parts of your body. I think I talked to you yesterday about the like, I can't understand how you manage to get tattoos on your neck and stuff like that. But are you in a position now where you're satisfied, done with tattoos, or are you looking to get more now?
Oh, for sure, I've got a lot of work to do. I envisioned that I'd have my whole back done, and then I've got some gaps on my arms, and then you've got your ribs and stuff. I don't know if I'm going to go to the legs. I think the whole reason I started getting tattoos was actually to cover acne scarring, believe it or not.
Right. Yeah.
So that was the reason I actually began doing it on my back. And obviously I met Sean Rigg in my first year at Bath City, who is the legend who has I've been his drawing board for the last 2 or 3 years. And again, a great friend of mine. And again, this is part of non-league football, which is great. You meet people that become friends for life, and you're in just different sectors. I went from being a roofer to working for Brunty as a sales manager, operations manager, and living a completely different life. And you've had Sterney go professional, so now he's like a full-time chippy and clown, and Rain,
full-time clown, 100%.
Yeah, and Rains has got his own gym, and you meet different people and you're intertwined. And Riggy definitely sped up the me getting as many tattoos as I did, because the cost you obviously had one recently, which it definitely dents the pocket, especially if you don't know the person. I was fortunate that me and Riggy he was learning and I was keen.
Willing.
So I was willing, and there is worse parts than others, but I'm definitely got the buzz, and I'll definitely keep it going. But I also need to start working before I can afford to do it again.
And what's the inspiration behind them? Because obviously you've got, like, I'm trying to think of the ones that I know you've got. There's obviously the owl that you've got on your forearm. There's the owl that you've got on your neck as well. And then you've got like a load of, I don't know what the best way to describe it is. Are they flowers, or are they just shapes that you've got on your neck and chest and stuff?
So yeah, that design is like a geometric mandala. It's a mix of both. Didn't ever really envision that was going to be what I went with, but me and Riggy kind of just, well, I don't want to say I blasé sat there and was like, what are you going to tell you on me? But we'd look at things and he'd say, oh, what do you think about this and what do you do about that? And I said, as long as you can incorporate this sort of symmetry with that sort of stuff, then I'm all for it. And I think Riggy enjoyed doing that, and we kind of just went with it with those in mind. And then it's just once you got the ball rolling, I think there was a spell where I was going like every 2 weeks for a couple of months where we, like.
Did you play football through it? Did you play football through having a new one?
Yeah. I mean, obviously you try to avoid it, but I remember a couple of times you'd book a Tuesday in advance, like 2 months in advance, and then lo and behold, a game would get rescheduled to be a Tuesday night. So I have done 2 or 3 on a Tuesday after a tattoo, which isn't nice. You can imagine it's sore and swollen and whatever. I wouldn't advise it, but depends what you're also having done. I had my arm done on a Tuesday. Actually, when I was at Gloucester, this was a long time ago, and my arm's swollen up. And I remember having the wrap around it, and some guy grabbed my arm and I yelped, and he was like looking at me like, what's wrong? And I was like, I've just been tattooed. And then he whacked me again.
Don't give it away, mate, because that's the target then, isn't it?
Yeah, it was it. That was the problem. So I was so naive. Oh no. but yeah, it was. I don't know what my inspiration's for next, especially now being here. It's definitely way more expensive here. You'd be frightened by some of the prices, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Is there a specific reason that you've gone for certain tattoos like the owl, for example? Like because you've got a couple that are, well, so you've got a couple of owls and 2 that are slightly different. Like you said, the one on your neck's more geometrical. The one on your left forearm is more like real, like photorealism. So is there a reason that you went with the owl, or is it just a nice design that you liked?
I think I got inspiration. Like a lot of people go on Pinterest and stuff like that, and I actually believe Riggy wanted to do something like that too. And I was like, do you know what? I like the idea of doing a celebration with on my arm, and like as brain dead as that is, it was kind of how it come. And that was probably my favorite one, the owl that he done on my thing. The eyes pop out, he done a bit of color with it. And and then other things, it was just connecting things up. I think there's other bits and pieces. You kind of just find designs and go with it. I wouldn't say there's nothing too meaningful as such, but it depends what you're after.
Exactly. As long as you're happy with it in the end, then that's the main thing. And I think that I absolutely love tattoos. I've just got a new one yesterday at time of recording, hence being sat on half of a seat instead of the full seat because I can't sit down properly. But no, absolutely love tattooing. And then the other thing that we were going to discuss very briefly was obviously you wanted to talk about your problems with gambling in the past. That's something that has sort of, I don't know if the word haunted is the best way to describe it, but something that's haunted you in the past. Is that something you wanted to touch on really quick? Well, not really quickly, but do you want something you wanted to touch on before we go to another sort of discussion topic?
We can touch on it briefly. It was, I think, if we're going to nutshell it, it's definitely something that I think is a big problem with football. It's definitely something I got sucked into, probably outside of football, but I would say, if I was to be honest with players and fans and everyone, I think they're all involved in it. Everyone's as sucked in and don't admit it, which is the problem. I was definitely one of them. You kind of hide away from the fact that they do it and how much they do it, and the companies, they allow credit cards and this and that, and you're asking for trouble. Really, it's definitely a big part of my life which I overcome, and I've paid the price for. Definitely cost me a lot of money for sure. But I think I'd be a big advocate for betting to be better regulated, or just to make people more aware of the problems, because a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm done with it," and then you'll see in 2 weeks their sign up for another sign up bonus, and then they're doing it again. So I think it's a conversation that definitely go into deeper depths, but for the sake of now, probably not.
I think what we'll plan to do, and this is something that we haven't discussed in advance, is that we will do another podcast in a couple of months, maybe, which will be all about that aspect of football, if you'd be happy to do that, so that we can go into a lot more depth on it and maybe have a 40-minute, hour-long discussion about all the different aspects of it, if that's something you'd be interested in.
Yeah, I think, I believe I can shed a light on it, which from a player's point of view and a gambling addiction point of view would be insightful maybe to some people. Maybe it might resonate with some, and it also opens some eyes to people what actually goes on behind closed doors. I'm not saying it's too corrupt, but I definitely, I think Truro have just had a big case of players getting banned. I think 5 or 6. And if I was to say they're not probably the only club, I'd be probably bang on with it as well. They've definitely cracked down and got better, but there's definitely more to be discussed for sure.
Perfect. Well, anyone that's listening, watching on YouTube, Spotify, keep an eye out, because we will be doing that hopefully in a couple of months' time once Manny's given me his availability once again. But we'll go on just very quickly, mate, to a couple of questions that we did have submitted. I think one of the questions has come that I don't quite understand, but I'll ask you regardless. But the first question we had was whether you will be coming back to Chippenham at all.
Yeah, it was. So officially, I won't be. They didn't release anything to say that I'm going. It's because it was a little bit unknown. But I did speak to Cookie, and they obviously know that I'm not coming back. And in all honesty, they don't need me. They're touching the playoffs, and they've really kicked on. I think they've become the new biggest club in Wiltshire.
Yeah, they're absolutely flying at the minute, mate. And I was talking to Will Henry a couple of weeks ago, and interestingly, the only real blotch on their season so far is the fact that they lost to Bath City home and away. So something to be sorted.
Everyone talks about the rivalry, but I mean, they should probably thank Chippenham that they gave them 6 points, because
absolutely.
It would. Without that, you'd be talking in the almost impossible one place of relegation.
Absolutely. So, in the absolute mire, if they didn't beat Chippenham home and away. But anyway, we'll move away from that.
Yeah, we won't touch that.
In terms of another question we had, I'll sort of phrase this in a slightly different way to the way it was written. In terms of, are you missing the UK at all? Do you miss people that are here, friends, family, or is it something that you haven't really had time to think about yet?
Yeah, it's good friend AD. I do miss the UK. You miss the UK for the friends and the camaraderie. Don't get me wrong. I think social media and the way phones are now and the way we can have a conversation like this makes everything probably way easier. I think if you've done this 10, 15 years ago, it would have been a lot harder. But it's, I'm excited for the US. So would I say I'm missing the UK right now? Probably not. I think there's the land of opportunity here, which I'm excited to explore. That's the type of person I am. But am I going to say that I don't miss the friends and family? That's of course something that comes with a move as such. But it's I'm also big enough and old enough to know it's life, and I wouldn't want to sit on my deathbed. I always think to myself, I don't want to sit on my deathbed and think, oh, I wish I went to Chicago, went to America. I don't want to have that regret. So that's kind of my thoughts on it.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really fair way to look at it, isn't it? Because, it's not like you didn't know that you would be away from friends and family. You knew that it wouldn't be, regular visits and regular pop-ins all the time. And obviously the time difference is another thing. So, I think that it's a real admirable way, the way that you've made the jump and the way that you look at it as well. a guy that me and you know relatively well from our time at Bath, Connor Riley Lowe, and I'm sure that you came up against him on a football pitch as well a few times, has sent in a couple of questions, and I know that neither of them are going to be taken that seriously necessarily. One of them doesn't make any sense. What is a nommie, or is that a mistyped thing? He put the worst nommies player you've ever played with.
So Nommies is the card game that we play on the bus on the way to
Right, okay.
So
Because every away trip, I'm going to try and recollect now, it would have been you, Sterney, Connor, Jack Batten, Frankie, and one other who would have played that card game every single away trip. So Nommies is the card game. Okay, go on then. Who was the worst? Go on, because from that group, I'm sure that there must have been one.
Oh, in all honesty, so
I can't imagine Sterney being a good bluffer.
he's the worst. He's the worst player, but he always he's either unbelievable or he's complete trash. But guaranteed, whatever happens. So put it this way: me and Sterney always doubled our bet. So it was £5 in each. It was, it's fun, and the game goes on for hours. So it's like no money involved. But me and Sterney would always like egg each other on, like, oh, if you win, I'll pay double. So you get £10 instead, just me and him. And it just made for good banter, really. Hands down, Frank is the best player, closely followed by Bawley, which I will tell you, one of the funniest moments I've ever seen on the bus was you can stitch each other up, like knowingly, and you can play the game to cheat. Like, not to cheat, but you can force other people out of winning. Well, that's obviously the etiquette of cards. I remember Bawley done that to Frank to make him lose. And I'm not joking you, Frank looked at him like he shot him. He looked at him like he had done the worst thing you ever seen. He goes, he just kept saying, I couldn't believe it. And I honestly just remember sitting there thinking, it was like a documentary, like a sitcom. I was just thinking, this is like a live show going on right now. It was it was the heartbreak was unbelievable.
We'd be sat at the front of the bus and you'd just hear you lot start shouting about something to go with that card game. And usually it was Frank that you would hear his voice bellowing out from behind us. So I can imagine that I was on the bus that day. But I'm glad I know that that's called Nommies now, because I never knew what game you were playing or how you were playing it, but at least I could name the game now.
Yeah, and hands down, I'd probably say Connor Riley Lowe's I'd call him Apple Crumble, because he'd always do well and then just absolutely die at the end. He'd get pressure on him and he would crumble. And he couldn't hack it. It's for big game players, that game, and he just weren't a big game player. So.
It's for the big boys, and Connor just wormed his way into it, I think, by the looks of it.
Yeah, so he just come in, he thought he was from Truro. He's like, oh, I'm a Southern boy, I know this game. We shown him the ropes. He didn't have a clue what was going on. We had him from day one.
Had him pegged. Then the other thing we had sent in from Scott Wilson was whether you have ever done it on a cold Tuesday night in Truro, whilst we're talking about Truro.
Do you know what? I've done it on a cold night in Truro, and unbelievably, I've done it in an FA Trophy game on a Tuesday night, and we lost 3-2, and their centre half scored all 3 goals.
Oh, nice. Who was that? Do you know who it was?
It's either Ben Pugh. His second name was definitely Pugh. It might have been Andy Pugh or something. He was 6'5", and
every corner.
Rory Delap throw-in. They were on from halfway, and they would just bring up. But I will tell you, he scored one of the best overhead kicks I've ever seen scored from someone for the third. And I remember just driving back, but we got home at like 4 a.m. I just kept thinking to myself, their centre half just scored 3 goals.
Who was that for? Was that for Evesham or was it for Gloucester? Or?
That was for Gloucester City, yeah. And I do remember that game. It was it wasn't a pleasant experience. The pitch was bad. Just everything about it sucks, and just the fact that the defender scored 3 goals. It was just one of the memories I'll never forget.
Good game for you or not?
No, that was added to it. I remember one of our players got injured. I went from right wing to left back, and I got absolutely roasted by their winger. It could have even been Andy Watkins. I'd have to look back to see who was playing. But I was getting roasted by some winger, and my manager, for some reason, wanted to blame me for one of the goals because it hit a bobble and it went out for a throw when I went to clip it down the line. And I remember him saying some fruitful words to me, and then lo and behold, they scored from the throw-in. And yeah, it wasn't a great Tuesday evening, but I have done it in a truer night and a cold night. Just didn't win it.
Fair enough, mate. As long as you put the effort in, that's the main thing. I think we'll go back to cards for the next question because, and I'm sure you know which question this is. It's from our own Dan Bull, the absolute man, the legend that is Dan Bull. Have you ever played naked cards? And God, I hope this isn't on the coach on a Bath City game that I've somehow missed.
Oh, do you know what? Me and Dan Bull have got some great memories of the cards. So the story of the naked cards comes from football tour. So when we went to Marbella, which I will tell you, to be fair to Ross Stern, he will talk your ear off all day. He will score you goals, and he will also make a great tour. He can book a great tour. We left it in his hands, and we had a villa, and it was phenomenal. Yeah, and Bawley was my roommate, and boys being boys, I don't know what happened for them 3 days or whatever. It was a crazy time, as in just non-stop laughs of just stupidity. But I remember me and Bawley had the cards, and we labelled our room the naked card room. So anyone who entered our room, I don't know why we made this rule, but they had to be naked, had to play cards to get in. It was like a cult. It became mine and Bawley's cult. So you're guaranteed that me and Bawley were going to be naked in our room playing cards. And
24/7 as well.
You did not enter the room unless you got naked. It was a weird. The more I talk about it, the more it's a strange rule. But when you're drunk, it was hilarious. It was hilarious because people would walk in and we'd be like, no, and off you go. And then Sterney would come in and Shockey would get naked. And then it would be friends they want to play, and anyone wanted to play cards at that moment. There was a clothed card table outside on the balcony, I would add, but people enjoyed the naked cards just purely for the camaraderie. Anyway, that was the rule. But the funny thing is, like I said, because me and Bawley made this stupid rule, I don't know why we've done this one evening, but we were playing cards, and I remember we were playing high or low, and 4 aces come out like in 5 cards, and it was like the greatest card moment we've ever experienced of our life. Everyone was like, we've got it on video somewhere, and
I really don't want to see that video.
Honestly, you don't. It's so X-rated. But I remember there was a lad called Strakes and obviously Clarkey. They were like, lads, right, we're going to be out at like 8:30. We're going to go to this bar in Marbella. We're like, right, we're getting ready. I'm not joking you. Bawley would always, we get ready, we get dressed and stuff, and we go out the room, and then Bawley would word to me, he's like, should we play a quick game of naked cards? So we'd run back in the room, it'd be like 8:15. So we'd run back in there and play a stupid game of cards, and then like the lads walk in, they'd be like, lads, what are you doing? We've got to go. So all right, we get dressed and that, we're laughing, and then Bawley would like look at me, and we'd be like kids, and we'd be like, should we go play a quick game of cards? And Sterney would come back. So there's 3 of us in there now, and it's now like 8:30, and the lads are like, lads, what are you doing? We've got to go. Like, we've got a book table book, we've got this. All right, lads, sorry, last time. Well, anyway, lo and behold, we go outside, and then like stupidly we run back in, and they left us there. And we made everybody really late. But it was that was the reason we have officially played naked cards. And I will also say, I remember one time at work, me and Bawley have stupid rules. The more I think about our friendship, I question some of our things. But in the summer, we'd always say, like, should we play a quick game of naked cards? And one time we video playing naked cards, and I was at work. I had done it in the back of my van. That's a true story. Yeah.
That's I'm sure that your former employers would absolutely love to hear not only how you're using their van, but also what they were paying you for at the time.
I know. I was on my lunch break, and you can ask Bawley if you want confirmation, but he was like, should we play quick game of naked cards? And I remember videoing him, and I was naked in the back of my van. That's just the stuff that went on.
And where's Bawley at this time? Is he at home or is he at work as well?
I actually think he was on his lunch break at home, luckily, because he works in a gym. So just as well it was. But it was, you know what? The funny thing is, they're the stupid things that get you through your day to day. You know, there's things you do with your friends and whatever. We don't play naked cards anymore. We'll probably have to catch up and do one in the future.
I was going to say, I will make sure that if I interview anyone from Bath City like Borley, I won't ask him to bring any cards online because I'll end up getting cancelled on all platforms.
Trust me, yeah, it was just silly boy banter. And do you know, it's like that meme where the girlfriends think, what do you get up to when you go away with the lads? We play naked cards.
That's nice, mate. Nice bonding moment. I like it. I'm going to ask one more question just because we are coming up to nearly 90 minutes talking to each other.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been good though. I've enjoyed it. The last one is from Kyle Brooks, who sent you a question about the best atmosphere you've ever played in when you've played football, and then your favourite American meal that you've had so far.
Oh, so hands down, favourite American meal I've had was a pizza place called Illuminati's in Chicago. Oh, unbelievable pizza. Oh, deep dish, and they do it as like a sausage base, and then they kind of like reverse it, so it's like cheese, and then like they put like normal tomato on top, like not sauce, like actual tomato. Oh, it's unbelievable. Honestly, I could recommend that for anyone. And the other food that I'd actually had, which was a bit of quality, was it's a gumbo, which is like a soup in New Orleans.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what a gumbo was until I went there, and then I tried it and I fell in love. So it was that was a chicken and andouille sausage gumbo. So that's my culinary experiences, I would say, with my top one or two. And
amazing.
And football best experience or atmosphere, I would say it was Luton Town away in the FA Trophy for Gloucester. And we got over to the last 16, I think it was, and they were a league above. And it was actually, I think it was one of my first starts for Gloucester City.
Wow.
I hit the post, I shanked across, hit the post, and unbelievable. Do you know what? I just realised their centre half scored the winner in that. And what we used to do at Gloucester was we used to rush, like, you know, when there's a free kick, you'd rush it to try to get people offside. He ran from, they must have obviously done their homework on us, and they figured out we were going to do it. And he ran from the halfway line. They just clipped it over us, and he just ran through and scored in the 8th minute. It was an unbelievable bit of play from them, and they made us look like a bunch of clowns. But it was just, if you've ever been to Luton, it's not obviously it's not a free area, but it's a very intimidating place to go.
Kenilworth Road is an amazing stadium because it looks like a stadium from the 70s, because it is a stadium from the 70s that's never been updated. But it's what, 9,000 people when they're packed out, and it's a proper decent little stadium. It keeps the noise in, doesn't it?
It really does. It's intense. They're angry people. They just to enter the stadium as an away team, you go under like a bridge into like the thing. It was just a great experience. You know, it was loud. The only other one I would say come close was Torquay at home for Bath. Yeah, that was unbelievable. But I'm gutted about that one because I couldn't play for injury, because I played on an injury for 3 games before that because we had like 12 players. So I had to play, and it kind of forced me out, which was a shame.
Oh, mate, gutting about that. But then I suppose at least you were part of that, like you say, that atmosphere, because that was like Bath's biggest crowd for years and years, wasn't it? It was ridiculous. And you won, was it 3-2, 2-1, something like that?
Oh, everything about that game was unbelievable. We were 2-1 down. They had a penalty. They missed. Then I think Brunty come on and scored. And then he might score 2. I can't remember if he scored both, but bring it back. But there was flares on the pitch. There was fighting in the fans. It was... everything about that day was unbelievable. And then obviously in the change room after, there's a cracking video. I've got the boombox on my shoulder. Sterney's running around like a little weasel, and Frank's naked. The reason that he can't be posted because Frank comes out naked with all his glory. So it's it was that was a great day.
Comes out naked, pack of cards in hand, knowing what time it is after you've won a game at home. Well, one last thing I will ask, and it's only because he mentioned specifically that he was really looking forward to listening to this, is you've got to give us one really good Ross Stern story, I think, if you can.
I can. So a good Ross Stern story. There's many, I would say. I've abused the Ross for many a time, but I will say the pre-season, I think it was the second pre-season that we done. we do a training camp in Bath's uni, and yeah, so I've had a year of getting to know Ross, and he's had a year of getting to know me, and it was full on banter going on. And I always thought to myself, he's going to get it at this pre-season. Well, we was talking a good game. Well, he actually took my car keys and moved my car. And if you know Bath Uni, as you've worked there, there's many a car park, and he moved my car. Yeah, he moved my car. There's a video of him. There's a video of him videoing me walking around hopelessly lost. It took me about 20 minutes to find my car. And I said to him, I was like, Ross, I'm going to get you back for this. I hope you do know that the war is on. So we come back into the next day, and we played Reading, I think, in the 21s, and then we had our team back out. Well, I was like, he's having it. So we're on a night out, and I said to Frank, I was like, I'm going. I've got things to do. So I leave, and I go find Ross's van, and I wrapped it with cling film,
Right. Okay.
which I wrapped it with cling film, and luckily, it took me ages. It was actually hard, I think, because the van's quite hard. It's like a slope, but there was a video of me and Frank somewhere. We're actually giggling like little kids, because Frank actually helped me in the end, because he would hold it and I'd run around with it. But when I say I wrapped it, it was a good 100-meter length worth of cling film. It was complete. I got a video of it somewhere, but he obviously went on his night out, and you're not going to go to your car after night out. And I remember us coming down Sunday out, we're about to go home, and the video is brilliant, because he brought this massive fan with him, because it was really hot in the uni docks, and he's walking down with his fan with his flip-flops on, obviously talking rubbish as he normally does. And I just remember 30 of us stood there watching him as he uncovers this cling film on his car. It was one of the funniest moments I've had with him. It was great. I'll have to send you the video of that. It was honestly so good.
You will. We'll have to post it to the YouTube channel if there's not too much language on it, although I can't imagine it's language free. We'd have to wait and see. But yeah, no, I'd have to see that. So we need to finish off with an oh yeah each. So talk me through the good oh yeah.
So yeah, so if you haven't seen it before,
I haven't.
Okay, that's where we are. So basically, the first time I uncovered it was because Brunty got sent it from an Exeter fan. Sent him a voice note going, Brunty, can you give me a oh yeah? And what you got to do is reply with your oh yeah. And it mate, there's endless YouTube videos of this, people doing it in schools, to things like this. And even funny enough, my nephew sends me it all the time. He finds it hilarious. He's like, Manny, give me a oh yeah. Well, you got a 7-year-old kid, it's hilarious. And but they don't understand, it sounds very sexual, doesn't it? And,
well, where does it so what does it originate from? Do you have any idea?
I honestly just know it was online, and then it's become a thing. I'd actually love to know where the source of it comes from, but let me tell you, I laugh about the oh yeah possibly every time I hear.
So if I go, so what do you reckon? High pitch ish is the best way to deliver it?
Yeah, it's I would say give your best. You borderline want it to sound sexually creepy.
Right, okay. Sexually creepy I can do, but high pitch is difficult. Oh yeah! How's that? I think that's decent.
Yeah, just this could be a future podcast thing for you. I think I might introduce into mine is you just ask for the best yeah, and then
just an hour of yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. Go on then.
Give me a yeah.
It's not bad. It's very sexually creepy.
Yeah, that's it. The creepier the better. But let me tell you, Brunty's got a good creepy one, and I've heard a few. I've heard a few belters, but yeah, go on YouTube and search that. But your missus might think you're a little bit weird, but you can ask 100%. Them. I just throw it out there sometimes when I'm cooking food. I'll just say, just give me a yeah, and she just replies, great.
I'll explain the whole process to my wife, and I'm sure she won't get it and won't want to do it, but I'll force it. I'll have to make sure that I get Brunty on at some point and talk about his football career, but mainly the yeah, just so that we can get his awfully creepy one on here as well.
Oh, honestly, yeah. You think he's a predator the moment it comes out of his mouth.
Not a box, like a football predator, as in like fox in the box, but a sexual predator. Just to clarify for people what Manny means.
Yeah, it really takes a turn. He goes from one to the other real quick.
I genuinely now need to push because we've got an interview coming out next month, which is with another former Football League defender who I can't wait to interview as well. But after that, I think I'll have to push it through to being Brunty just so I can get the on here.
Yeah. It's worth it. That will be worth whatever your interview length is. That 5-second clip will be, honestly.
I might just get a 5-second interview with him.
Yeah.
You know, former Exeter, Bristol Rovers, Plymouth Argyle, Bath City, Chippenham Town striker. Give us a hi, yeah. Okay, thanks very much. Perfect.
That's it. That's all you need. That's all you need.
Live the dream. All right, well, this has been absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much, Manny. And thank you as well for listening or watching us on YouTube, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts from. Don't forget to follow us, like, share, subscribe on Instagram, and we will see you soon.
Much love.